Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about less stress, ladies and gentlemen. We need to think about this. And luckily, I have Gary who's going to be helping us think about this in a whole new way. So, thank you so much, Gary, for coming on to my
Hey,
show.
Mitzi, thank you for having me on this. This is awesome.
Yes. So, let's dive right in. When you think of less stress, what necessarily does come to mind?
All right, two things. First off, most people are living their lives stressed out, and they're in their little cave. It's black, it's dark. They don't know how to get out. They hate it. They're miserable, and they're like, but they resign themselves to this is the way it has to be. And you're like,
Yeah.
no. If there's nothing else you get out of this podcast, do not resign yourself to being stressed out. There's a way out. Okay. But the second is we're all stressed out, and we're like, why? Like, like when all the books that I've read, they go, "Hey, here's the 100 top stresses. You lose your spouse, you lose your job, yeah, this happens, you get sick, blah blah blah." But here's the key: is like, what makes losing your spouse so stressful? And people don't have that answer. So what they get is you losing your spouse is really bad, and do these generic things like meditate, go to church, right, do mindfulness, whatever, right? But what I found what the ingredients are that will cause the stress. So what causes the stress are things like, well, I'm worried now, or I feel guilty that I didn't do this, or I regret that I didn't do that, or now I don't know what to do with myself, so I'm a little bored, or my self-esteem took a hit because now my spouse, or I'm overwhelmed because I got too much stuff. These are the ingredients. So I can't bring a spouse back. I can't say, magic, I have magic fingers and a spouse comes back to life,
Yeah.
but I can help you with your worry and your guilt and your regret and feeling overwhelmed. Those are things I can do something about. So I can take the worst stress in your life, and bring it down to some place where you can tolerate it. But then you had to know, so what's worry? So I'm a primary care doctor. I retired a year and a half ago. Yay.
Yay.
That's chapter number 7, retired. No, I'm just kidding. Um, so here's what I learned. As a primary care doctor, I'm used to writing prescriptions for people that have high blood pressure and diabetes. And I go, hey, here's this really good prescription. It'll lower your pulse. It might have a little bit of side effect, but it'll make your blood pressure go down. It's great medicine, right? And if it has a side effect, we'll figure that out, right? But when I took that and said, hey, that idea that something could be really good, but it could have a side effect, then I'm like, wait, humans, that's humans, right? So we have these incredible abilities. So we can have the ability to envision the future. We can go, oh, tomorrow we're going to do this. In November, this episode is going to get released, whatever, right? But it has a side effect. And that's where we have to worry about it. And you're like, wait, what? So what we hear is we could do what psychologists tell us to say, well, just live for today. And you're like, well, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that. That'd be great. Then I wouldn't worry anymore. And you're like, you're right. It would make the side effect to go away. But then you'd also lose your skill. So now you don't get to envision the future. And I'm going to tell you now, as a human, it's impossible to not have future. Like you can't not. Like we spend a lot of time in the future. Tomorrow we're going to do this. Later today I'm going to do that. Next week I'm going to be in Wisconsin in like 3 weeks. It's like, yeah, like you have to live because there are humans that can't envision the future.
Yeah,
So my
yeah,
1-year-old grandson can't envision the future. So
yeah,
guess
yeah.
what? He doesn't worry. I mean, I can just envision him at the breakfast table eating his bananas, right? And he's like, Dad, who's paying for college? And you're like,
Exactly.
1-year-olds don't do that because they can't, right?
Yes,
But they're also
exactly.
not successful, so you have to take care of them because they can't envision the future. So they can't figure out, oh, we got to save some money. So when you get old enough and you want to go to college, right? So he needs adults to do that because they have the ability to envision future. And I'm a doctor, so I'm at the other end of the spectrum where I see demented patients, and they
Mm,
used to have the skill, but now they've lost it. So they're at
yeah,
a nursing home because they need to be taken care of, but they don't
yeah,
worry. So they don't go, oh, who's going to pay for the nursing home next week? It's really expensive here. That doesn't come up because they don't have that skill. So they don't have the side effect. So the idea of my book is, well, here's the skill, here's the side effect, and here's some tools to get rid of the side effect and keep the skill. Because I don't want to just live for today. I like being living in the day idea, but I want to be able to live in all three of my tenses. I want to be able to live in the past and in the future and in the present and enjoy all three of them.
exactly. It's that finding the balance, you know what I
Yes.
mean, is what I'm hearing. And you're absolutely right. People don't have that balance. And I was watching a video and this guy was asking a woman, like, how can I have freedom without responsibility? And the lady was like, there's no such thing. The only person in the world that has freedom without responsibility is a baby. because they are the ones that are only be able to free to do whatever they want with no responsibility attached to it. But everyone else on earth, well, who's grown, is has that they need to have that responsibility attached to it. And there's always that good stress and that bad stress. You know what I mean? That good stress is that, oh, you're working and you have a goal, but you're doing really good. You know what I mean? That's the type of good stress, that how I see it. But a bad stress is like you're over, like how you were talking about your spouse died, and you're stressed out because how are you going to do this, how are you going to do that? Well, that's bad stress because it's not stress that needs to be focused on right now and in the moment. And I think people really need to rationalize, like, where's my focus, where is it leading me and directing me? Because you, like you said, you can live in the past and you can have it to remind you of the good things and remind you of the lessons learned and all those things, and then the future to prepare you of what you want, prepare you of what's to come. And then in the now, you have the responsibilities of what you have to do: take a shower, brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, eat, you know what I mean, those little things. But it's like these little stresses truly do add up if you don't know how to manage your time and don't know how to have that balance. So I guess it leads me to my next question: do you think time management is another key aspect into finding the balance with stress?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So here's what I see. Like I'm working on this program, and one of the things that people need to reduce their stress is the word I use is called reserve. And it's like what I see are people that are living paycheck to paycheck. They have no reserve. So if something comes up, like they get a flat tire and the tire is going to cost $300 and they don't have $300 in their checking account. I'm like, wait, what? So you're living your life on the edge and with no reserve. Man, what a bad place that is, because now everything becomes a big deal. So if you have, when you talk to financial pundits, they go, save up 6 months of bills so that for 6 months you could pay your bills even if you didn't work. Well, if you have 6 months of bills, the money for that, then something happens, you're like, oh, well, I got that money and I'll just use it now and then put it back in later on. And they go, well, I don't have enough money to do that. Yeah, you do. Because what I find is people are spending money on. I was talking to a client the other day and they're like, I don't have enough money to pay you to help me, right? So she had this, a boss yells at her and she hates it and she's ready to quit. And so we talked about what options do you have? What control can you take? And so
Yeah.
she goes, all right, well, I can do this. And I said, here's the things you can do. Here's some skills, right? So I said, here's what I want to do, though, because they're not used to these. So let's have another meeting tomorrow and we'll practice them so that when you get there, you'll have already tried it, right? She goes, so the next day she calls, she's like, I can't do it because I can't afford you. And I'm like, all right, fine. And trust me, I'm not doing this for money because I'm retired, so I don't care, right?
Yeah.
2 days later, her boss yells at her. She yells back and gets fired. And I'm like, so then she calls me back and she's like, I didn't do what you said. I guess, right? Yeah. And I'm like, well, she goes, but I don't have enough money for you. And I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't have enough money? I go, well, she goes, well, we're living paycheck to paycheck. And I go, well, wait, you told me that you vape, right? And she goes, well, yeah. And I go, well, how much money do you spend on vaping? And she goes, I don't want to tell you. And I go, yeah, bet not, right? Because what you find is that people are prioritizing money in certain places and not in other places. And you're like, wait, like if you just didn't vape and you took the money, like I was down to my stepson's and he's vaping and it's costing him, I don't know, $100, $200 a month, right? If if you took $200 a month for a year, that's $2,400. What?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And you had the
Exactly.
figures, that's like almost $10,000. What? Like, and that's just by doing something that isn't hurting you. How freaking nice is that, right? So what I find is reserve is critical. And that doesn't just mean money, right? Reserve is money. But the other thing that I found with my stepson, he's down and he's living in Atlanta and he's has his girlfriend and they decided they're homesteading. And so what they do is they have all these, they've bought chickens and ducks and rabbits and right. And so they're going to feed them and then they're going to use them to feed other things and sell some and get the eggs and stuff like that, right? But what's happened is the amount, animals do what they're supposed to do and they multiply. So they started out with like 20 and now they got 100.
Mhm.
So what happens is they have no reserve. So if both of them are there together and they're both working, then they can kind of handle it. But her mom had a hip operation or a knee operation. And so she had to go back with her mom. So for a month, he's by himself. There's no reserve. So he's like freaking out. So he's calling his mom going, oh, come down. I need help. So his reserve was us. So we came
Yeah.
down and helped him out. Great. Not everybody has that. So what you
No.
have to do is go. So we've been saying to them, dude, you have no reserve in your life. You need to shrink down what you're doing because there's too much there. There's no extra. So there's nothing going on there.
Yes.
And we see this in
Yeah.
healthcare all the time too.
We get to be honest, you can put that in any situation, in any scenario.
Yes.
People don't feel like, oh, I can't work out. I don't have enough time. Well, technically you
Yes.
do. You just got to wake up. Oh, I can't call my mom. I don't have enough time. Oh, well, technically you do. You could call her on the phone while you're driving to work, or you call her in between your breaks. You know what I mean? There's always something, but it's like there's always excuses. People have plenty of excuses to not do what they should be doing because they're focusing on comfort. They're focusing on just having fun. They're living that YOLO lifestyle, FOMO lifestyle. Oh, I'm gonna miss out. Like, no, you're missing out on what's important. You're missing out on the realness of life. The realness of life is stress. You know what I mean? But to be able to manage that stress is to actually handle it and see it for the bigger picture that
Yeah.
what it is and see, okay, how can I deal with this right now? You know what I mean? Like for instance, the homesteading, you know what I mean? The best way to do it is just let people know in his neighborhood, like if they have like young kids, 16, 17-year olds, that tell them they can work on his farm or work on his land for a little bit to help build some life skills. You know what I mean? Like if I lived out in the country and there was a farmer a couple miles down, I would ask them, "Hey, my sons are young, but they need the life skills. Can they help on the land for free so that they can gain that life skills?" You know what I mean? That
Mhm.
right there is an opportunity to spread it out. But like people don't realize when you talk and communicate and you let people know what your plan is, what your goal is, what's the situation that people can understand because you like you said earlier, not everybody has a backup. You know what I mean? People
Mhm.
be like, "Oh, well my parents are there, but what if they died?" You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Then who do you have? Oh, well, my uncle and aunt. What if everybody died that's older than you? What do you have for you? How can you grow up? How can you be the woman that you need to be? How can you be the man that you need to be? That's the thing that people don't really think about.
Mhm.
And like for instance, my father-in-law just died just on Monday,
Oh, well, I'm
and
sorry to
yeah,
hear that.
yeah, it was really hard for us. And then my husband's nephew, he's just like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." He's still very young at heart. And then I'm just like, what is he gonna do if his mom actually dies and his grandmother died and you were to die? How would
Mhm.
he actually stay? He looks like he's like a Bambi, you know what I mean? A little baby deer, barely
Yeah.
able to walk, and he's just a year younger than me. And I can't fathom it. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
I've been paying bills, I've been taking care of myself for since I was 17 years old, managing my own life.
Mhm.
And he is just a year younger than me, and he still lives off of his mom. He still lives off of everybody else. Hand out just because he has a job, he feels like all almighty and proud. But it's like no, just because you have a job doesn't make you a man. Just because you have a job doesn't make you a woman's Miss Independent. You know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
doesn't work like that. Like there's these life skills. It requires balance and it requires you to know how to manage your stress when it
Yeah.
comes to you. Because when that wave comes, are you going to be knocked down or are you going to be able to stand strong
Right.
like a tree? You know what I mean? And people
Yeah.
don't
Well,
think about that.
that's what I was going to say. You were talking about good stress and bad stress. And people have asked me that question. I don't really think there is good and bad stress. There's just a stress. And how you
Right?
react to it makes it good or bad. That's
There
the
you
problem.
go.
So I've had a lot of bad things happen to me that you would call bad stress, but in the end, because of the way I reacted, they actually ended up being better for me. So there are things that happened that, like my license got threatened and it made me make some decisions that now have made it so I can retire easier because I worked my ass off to make sure that I always had enough reserves that if something else happened, blah, blah. So sometimes when you see something that you think of as bad, it's how you react to it. So there's a second book that I got involved with. So the first book is Highway to Your Happy Place, a roadmap to less stress. But the other book I got involved with is Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. But he wrote this book called Mindset Matters. And I was a co-author of the book with a bunch of other people. And what happens is mindset. The reason I got involved was because mindset matters. Like how you
Got it.
approach the stress that comes at you with the mindset. So talking about my stepson, I say he's working as a bartender and he makes decent money as a bartender, and it's not a hard job, right? But he's miserable. He hates it. I'm like, well, why do you hate it? And he wasn't really sure. He's like, I don't know, like building people, like blah, blah, blah. And I go, okay, here's what I want you to do today. Go to work and think of all the good things as you go to work, all the good things that are coming out of you working there, right? And he came back that night and he was miserable. And he goes, I didn't do what you said. I'm like, he goes, and my tips were worse because he came in with a bad attitude. And you're like, dude, that's all you. That's all your control.
Yeah.
That you have those
Yeah.
choices. You have that control. If you go to work on, oh, this is miserable, and I think of it as miserable, you're going to be miserable, and then you're going to get less tips, and that's going to make you more miserable. If you go to work on, dude, if it wasn't for this job, I wouldn't have this, and I wouldn't be able to do that, and blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
And then you come in with a good attitude, and that is contagious. And so then people go, oh man, here's a really nice guy. Here's a bigger tip, right? And you're like, and then you come home going, oh, wasn't that a nice day, right? I felt good. And then I think good things happen. So mindset plays a huge role.
Well, absolutely. I believe it 110% because oh my goodness, people truly do have life get thrown at them, but they still have a kind heart. They still have a soft heart. They still have this gratitude within them. And it's like we really have to focus on what we're focusing on. You know what I mean? If all you're focusing is in the negative, then that's all you're gonna see, that's all you're gonna feel. And it really takes a toll on our heart. It takes a
Yes.
toll on our body, it takes a toll on our well-being. So when you keep on saying reserve, reserve, we have to really reserve our gratitude for those times that are hard. Like, you know what? My father-in-law just died, but I still have work, and I'm grateful for the fact that I have work. I'm grateful for the fact that I have somebody to talk to. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm not living this life alone. I'm grateful, you know what I mean? Every little
Yeah.
thing, like I'm grateful for a roof over my head. I'm
Oh
grateful
no.
for food. You know what I mean? Go back to the fact that
Yes.
you are grateful for the fact that your limbs are moving and you are able to move your body. Like that's something gratitude. Like even having those gratitudes in reserves will help you in those times of harsh because it helps you realize like, you know what, it truly is my frame of mind because somebody can go to side by side experience the same experience of death and turmoil, but unless their mindset is not in that frame of mind of pulling out their reserves, then they're not never going to have that understanding of like, you know what, this stress doesn't make me, it doesn't impact me in the way where it shoots me down, but it builds me up. It's just
Yeah.
another thing on under my belt. Like for some reason, people are talking about how there's two types of millennials. How one are like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why are we going through all of these hardships? And then the other ones are like, oh, bring it on! I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? So it's just like it's just those type of people. Like we have to realize, like we have to have that spirit of just like, okay, I'm ready for anything that comes from me because I know it would make me better. And people don't realize context builds character. And if we have the context in life, then it builds our character so that we can move forward in a manner that helps us persevere in life and endure whatever that comes out of us. And people don't realize that context also prevents us from judgment. So we no longer judge other people for going through certain things and managing certain things in a way that you wouldn't go through because with that context you have and you're like, you know what? I understand. You know what I mean? You have that understanding and then you can give empathy, you can give that
Yeah.
compassion, and you can allow people to be where they are. But the fact is that people don't understand that. They reject anything that doesn't bring joy and happiness to their life, but in reality everything can bring you joy and happiness, but it's just how you perceive it and how you go about it and how you accept it in your heart. And it sucks because time is catching up to us, Gary, and I
Oh,
feel like
no.
we could continue on talking about this in different avenues and it's like but what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave us off with to keep on thinking?
All right. Well, two things. One, your idea of gratitude is right on, right? So I talk about a 50-point wake up. So when I wake up in the morning, my eyes open, 10 points because I'm still alive. Then I go to the refrigerator, oh, 10 points because there's food. Then I go to the sink, oh, 10 points because I have running water. Then I go to the bathroom, oh, I have indoor plumbing. Yeah. So I wake up and there's 50 points. So my day starts with plus 50. So if something bad happens and it's minus 10, it's okay because I'm still plus 40, right? So that's number one. So second part of that is I was just in a trip and I went to a castle, right? And I'm like, wow, this is beautiful. But then I started looking, I'm like, you know what? This castle doesn't have air conditioning. It doesn't have electricity. It doesn't have a phone. When the king was there, he had to ride around in a carriage with a couple horses. Like I got to ride in a car. What? Like the stuff that we have today is mind-blowingly amazing. In my little humble abode, I have more creature comforts than the king of Germany had a couple hundred years ago. But we don't realize that. We don't take it, and that's where gratitude comes in, right? Second is that don't resign yourselves to being stressed out. When you see one of the things that I talk about is our stresses are always going to be there because there's side effects to our skills. So we can envision the future. Yay, incredible skill. The side effect is you have to worry about it. So we're never going to get rid of stress because as long as we have the skills, they're going to be there. So the key is keep our skills and lose the side effects. And that's what the book is about. And then the third is you got to know where you want to be, like where you're trying to get to. And that's that happy place. So the happy place, you have to know what it is. So in my book, Your Highway to Happy Place, a roadmap to less stress, I define what a happy place is. Everybody decorates theirs a little differently, but they all have the same rooms. And so they all have gratitude and fulfillment and pleasure and contentment and feeling safe and all these kinds of and connected and all this stuff, right? And having hope. So if you go, that's where I want to be. Well, now you know where to go, and you go. It's not that hard to get there, and then you find out that these stresses are the roadblocks that are keeping you from getting there. And so here's how to get rid of the side effects, keep the skills, so that you don't have these roadblocks, and now you can spend the rest of your life in your happy place.
Exactly, exactly. Those are very great, valid points. And one thing I always tell my husband, because he's prone to be like, "Oh, it's a terrible day. Oh,
Yeah,
my day is ruined." I'm like, "No, you had a bad moment, but the day is still beautiful. A bad moment does not mean that the day is terrible or it's the end of the day or the end of your world. No, it's just a bad moment. But then you know what? You can keep going because there's other great things that happen throughout the day. We did this, we did that, we did this. So continue on forward. So yes, to have that attitude, to have that frame of mind truly does embark us in a journey to like just a better life. Like you can breathe. And to having that point system, yeah. If my husband would have that point system, he'd be like, okay, well, 10 points off, but at least I can keep
yes,
going.
right.
You
You
know what
still
I
got
mean? Like
40.
I need to tell him about this point system so that he can start thinking about it differently. Because yes, people really need to start thinking about this differently. And ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this conversation, because how could you not, right? How could you not? Please go check out Gary. I have his website on my website. Even if you're on listening on audio or on YouTube, in the description, you'll find access to his website. Boop, go right there. Find all the great content that he has to offer the world so that we can continue on thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the point to continue on thinking. So, with that being said, bye.